To another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, we're continuing the coverage of Pedro Argote, who killed this man you see on the screen in a terrible act of violence. Rest in peace to Andrew Fisher Wilkinson, only 52 years old, who was a Maryland judge, and he had given his verdict on the case against Pedro Argote. Pedro does the unthinkable, and we're going to dive into everything we know, including what is the final result. Is he arrested? Is he still on the run? Stick around because we have that answer. But at the end of the day, Andrew, the judge, did not deserve this. And he was killed on Thursday, October 19th of 2023. From what we are finding out, it was all over the final verdict against Pedro Argote, who was in a custody battle after he filed for divorce and was going through a divorce and a whole proceedings, and then he does the unthinkable when the final verdict is reached. And so we're going to dive into what we know at this time, so do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. In a shocking turn of events, Pedro Argote, who was absent from his divorce hearing, then he was a wanted man for the murder of Judge Andrew Wilkinson. This case sent shockwaves through Maryland's legal community and has shed light on years of alleged abuse. Let's take a closer look at the events leading up to this tragic incident. Pedro Argote's wife, during the divorce hearing, provided shocking testimony about the abuse inflicted upon her and their children, allegedly by Pedro Argote for years. The judge ruled in favor of the wife, granting her a divorce and sole custody of their 4 children. In an audio recording of the hearing, we hear testimonies from Argote's adult daughter, who revealed that she spent most of her teenage years confined to her bedroom. She described how Pedro Argote controlled every aspect of their lives, including installing cameras throughout the house. She tearfully talked about how he would beat her with a belt and other objects. This was an abusive relationship with her dad. Shocked by the testimony, Judge Andrew Wilkinson concluded that Pedro Argote was unfit to have custody of the 4 younger children. He described how Argote had isolated the children and their mother over the past 2 years, stating, "I think he is abusive in multiple ways." Pedro Argote's wife, she provided detailed accounts of his mistreatment towards her and their children. She emotionally recalled how he would stuff a towel into their baby's mouth when crying. The situation worsened after she planned to leave him, and Argote escalated his abuse. That's why the judge was protecting this lady and her 3 beautiful children. Pedro Argote had lost it and he was abusing them. So it blows my mind anyone who defends Pedro Argote's actions. Believe it or not, people are actually defending this guy because he lost it. He lost his cool and he does the unthinkable out of anger. Judge Andrew did not deserve this. And so when Pedro Argote's wife wanted to leave him, Argote, he escalates his abuse. And Court records, they reveal a messy legal battle with accusations of surveillance and gun carrying. The wife requested a protective order, but they eventually settled on a contentious nesting arrangement, with Argote living on the first floor of their house while she lived upstairs. And so they were trying to make this work. The wife wanted the kids to have their father, right? She thought maybe this would get better, but it really didn't. It got to the point where he would not like the ultimate ruling, and he would do the unthinkable to the judge. You see, in a written opinion from March 2023, Judge Wilkinson stated that his concern about Argote's control over his wife, their finances, and their lives, this concern became crystal clear as he shared, that's what the judge said, crystal clear about Argote's control over his wife, over their lives, over his children, over their finances. It became crystal clear during the recent testimony. And so the judge felt he had no choice but to protect the wife and 3 children. Now, exhibits filed into the court record include seemingly happy photos of Pedro Argote and his children engaging in everyday activities. However, behind closed doors, a web of abuse and control was allegedly being woven. You see, the recent divorce hearing lasted 2 days, with Argote representing himself during the first half. He expressed frustration, but remained calm and respectful during his testimony. However, he failed to appear for the second half and called the courthouse with a headache excuse, which the judge found incredulous. That was the day of the judge's ultimate demise. You see, even though he didn't go to court, he would show up at the judge's home that night. Erica Garrett Johnson, the attorney representing Argote's wife, believes that he did not show up for the hearing because he didn't want to face his family's emotional testimony. She further argues that he knows the outcome is inevitable. Now, attorney Ashley Wilburn, who was representing the children, she expressed concern for their safety, especially considering Argote's absence from the hearing that day. She urged the judge to resolve the case quickly to secure their well-being, stating that the best case scenario would be for the children to move to Florida with their mother. That was her recommendation for the children. She was worried about their safety. Tragically, on the night of the divorce hearing, Judge Andrew Wilkinson was shot and killed in his own driveway. Rest in peace, Andrew Wilkinson. Taken from this world way too soon. Now, what we do know is that following his death, a week-long manhunt for Pedro Argote would come about. And in that whole process, we would find out that about this abuse and about what this Pedro was doing to his family. Mr. Judge Andrew had no choice but to protect the wife and 3 children because this guy was so controlling, they were scared of life. And when you think about this is why I'm doing this story, because if this sounds like something that you're going through, do not let it fall on deaf ears. It is very key that you keep in mind what is capable of happening. The week-long manhunt for Pedro Argote, the abusive father that is accused of gunning down the Maryland Judge Andrew Wilkinson, it would come to an end when Argote's body was found in a heavily wooded area near where his SUV was located, because they had found that SUV just a few days ago. Okay, shortly after the big manhunt began. Now, the Argote, He was on the run after the judge had granted custody of his children to his ex-wife in the divorce case, as I shared with you. And the judgment, it also barred Argote from any contact with his children or their mother. That was one of the things that would lead him to do what he did. Now, testimony in court revealed the extent of Argote's abusive behavior towards his children and wife, and that's what I've shared with you today as well. Now, the judge's ruling against Argote in the divorce proceeding, this likely fueled this motivation to murder Judge Wilkinson, is what we're all assuming. The judge, he didn't deserve this. He did not deserve this at all. He was described as a loving family man, and his former law partner expressed condolences to his family during this difficult time. My friends, if you are a person of prayer, please pray that we get justice over, that the family can find some healing. Whether you find what Pedro did to himself as justice, that's up to you. I'm more of a person, I want them to get through the whole justice system, because I believe that being in prison for the rest of your life, I don't know that there is a stronger punishment than that, in my opinion. But maybe losing your life if you really don't appreciate it. But I feel like you're losing your life either way, because really, we're not meant to be confined into a little box for the rest of our lives. And so I feel like that is punishment in its own, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So, at the end of the day, that's not what this is about, right? Rest in peace to Andrew Fisher Wilkinson, taken from this world way too soon. Again, if you're a person of prayer, please pray for the family and pray that we get some justice. And please, 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 if this sounds like a situation that you're in, say something, do something. Don't just not say something. I'm Manny Rodriguez, and this has been another episode of Deep True Crime. Until next time, my friends, peace.